What's going on, hybrid shooters? It's Jason Vong and welcome back to Gear Talk Thursday, a weekly series where I ramble on about a certain gear that I'm using or a certain gear that I want to feature. And actually today's episode is more focused on a frequently asked question. So lately on the Instagram DM and on my YouTube comments, I've been getting a lot of questions asking me whether or not something like a Sony a7 III or R3 with the 24-70 f2.8 G Master would work on a skinny gimbal like the Zhiyun Crane Plus or the Crane V2. So I've never really made a dedicated video about this topic, but the reason why this combination right here doesn't work with a skinny gimbal like the Crane Plus is because even though that this falls below the payload limit of 5 pounds, I'm guessing this is like lighter than 5 pounds, and clearly the Crane Plus can support it, it's just way too front heavy. So it will stress the tilt axis a lot. A couple months ago, I've mounted the 16-35 G Master on the a7R III onto the Crane Plus and it barely worked. And you'll see from this B-roll right here that this setup sits really close to the back of the motor, and I was forced to have to remove my eyepiece in order to have a full range of motion with the gimbal with that setup. So you can probably imagine that the 24-70 G Master right here is slightly heavier than the 16-35 G Master, therefore this would probably not work too well with the Crane Plus or the Crane V2. So if you really want to use your 24-70 G Master lens with your Sony camera, I highly recommend going with the Crane 2. So this gimbal right here will support this setup without any issue. As you can see right here, that there's still enough clearance in the back right here where I can still get a full range of motion out of my gimbal without the eyepiece here hitting the back of the motor. And even though the setup right here is quite heavy, the Crane 2 has stronger and more powerful motors than the Crane Plus, so you'll still be able to get some really nice smooth footage with this setup right here. Alright, so as a bonus, I'm going to show you guys how to balance the 24-70 G Master with the a7R III on the Crane 2. I'm going to reset everything, so I have to do it for real, so that way those of you who are watching at home can follow along with your Crane 2 and your camera setup. Okay, so I went ahead and reset all of the axes already. Go ahead and put the base plate on your camera if you haven't already yet, and go ahead and just put it onto the Crane. Also, I'm going to be looking at my monitor from time to time to make sure that whatever it is I'm showing is clear in the video. There you go. Okay, so now that we got the camera onto the Crane, it doesn't matter what position it is in right now because we're going to be making a lot of micro movement and micro adjustments. So first off, what I noticed right here is my camera is leaning way too far to the left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unlock the row axis right here and move the camera back to the right, just until it's balanced or somewhat balanced. Okay, so right here it is looking pretty good. Okay, next what we're gonna work on is the tilt axis. So right now the camera is kind of leaning down. So what we're gonna do is we are going to bring the camera up like so. Right now you're gonna feel the camera, or at least what I feel, is the camera leaning forward a lot. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna unlock the tilt axis right here and slide it until it doesn't lean forward or backward. So now it's leaning backwards, push it out a little bit more. Okay. Okay, so now as you can see, it's starting to lean back to the left now. So we're gonna adjust the row axis again until it does not lean left or right. Okay, so it's still leaning forward a lot. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna adjust the base plate right here by simply sliding back. So we're gonna unlock here and slide the gimbal back. Until it doesn't lean forward anymore. So that's pretty good. Go ahead, we're going to lock it up. Now we're gonna double check again. So it's still falling forward, but as you notice, it's falling forward a little slower than before. So we're getting really close now. We're gonna unlock the tilt axis again, and we're gonna push it in. As you can see, now it's not falling forward. We're gonna lock it. It's looking pretty good. It's not leaning too far to the left or right, nor is it tilting too far up or down. So honestly, this is looking really good already. The roll axis need a little adjustment right here, so I'm gonna go ahead and push it to the right a little bit more. And to the left. Again, guys, micro movements. There you go, looking pretty good. And there you go. And again, you don't have to be perfect with the balance because there are the encoder motors in the Crane 2 where it will compensate for that slight imbalance. All right, so it's looking pretty good right now. The last thing to do is to balance the yaw axis. So I like to just kind of like lean the gimbal like a 45-degree angle. And as you can see, it's penduluming a lot. I'm not even sure if that's a word or not, but it is swinging back and forth way too much. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna test it out. We're gonna unlock the yaw axis right here. And I'm just gonna push it up. I'm just gonna push it up and see if that makes any difference. So I pushed it up a little bit and I'm leaning. As you can see, it is swaying a little slower. So it tells me that I'm getting really close to the balance. I'm gonna unlock again. I'm gonna push it out a little bit more. And we're gonna see what happens now. Okay, so now it is swaying the other way, but also really slow. So I'm gonna move this yaw axis back a little bit. Try it out again. And there you go. I'd say that's not too bad. I'd say that's perfectly acceptable. All right, so everything is looking like it's very balanced now. All we have to do is just turn on the gimbal. And that's it, voila. It's balanced and it's ready to rock and roll. So again, the Crane 2 will support a heavy combination like this. If you have a DSLR with a heavy lens like a Canon 5D Mark IV and a 24-70 or Nikon or whatever it is, the Crane 2 is the way to go. Now, if you have mirrorless bodies with smaller, lighter prime lenses, then I definitely highly recommend going for the Crane Plus or the Crane V2 instead. Guys, let me know in the comments down below which gimbal you're rocking, what setup you're rocking, and let me know how well it's been working out for you. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.